Dracula by Bram Stoker. Chapter 13 continued. Mina Harker's Journal. 22nd of September. He was very pale, and his eyes seemed bulging out, as half in terror and half in amazement. He gazed at a tall, thin man, with a beaky nose and a black moustache and pointed beard, who was also observing the pretty girl. He was looking at her so hard that he did not see either of us, and so I had a good view of him. His face was not a good face. It was hard and cruel and sensual, and his big, white teeth that looked all the whiter because his lips, so red, were pointed like an animal's. Jonathan kept staring at him, till I was afraid he would notice. I feared he might take it ill. He looked so fierce and nasty. I asked Jonathan why he was so disturbed, and he answered, evidently thinking that I knew as much about it as he did. "Did you see who it is?" "No, dear," I said. "I don't know him. Who is it?" His answer seemed to shock and thrill me, for it was said as if he did not know what it was to me. Mina, to whom he was speaking. "It is the man himself." The poor dear was evidently terrified at something, very greatly terrified. I do believe that if he was not had me to lean on to support him, he would have sunk down. He kept staring. A man came out of the shop with a small parcel, and gave it to the lady, who then drove off. The dark man kept his eyes fixed on her, and when the carriage moved up Piccadilly, he followed in the same direction, and hailed a hansom. Jonathan kept looking after him and said, as if to himself, "I believe it is the Count, but he has grown young. My God, if this be so! Oh, my God, if I only knew! If I only knew!" He was distressing himself so much that I feared to keep his mind on the subject by asking him any questions, so I remained silent. I drew him away quietly, and he, holding my arm, came easily. We walked a little further, and then went in and sat for a while in the Green Park. It was a hot day for autumn, and there was a comfortable seat in a shady place. After a few minutes, staring at nothing, Jonathan's eyes closed, and he went quietly into a sleep, with his head on my shoulder. I thought it was the best thing for him, so did not disturb him. In about 20 minutes he woke up, and said to me, quite cheerfully, "Why, Mina, I have been asleep. Oh, do forgive me for being so rude. Come, we'll have a cup of tea somewhere." He had evidently forgotten all about the dark stranger, as in his illness he had forgotten all about this episode that reminded him of. I don't like this lapsing into forgetfulness. It may make or continue some injury to the brain. I must not ask him, for fear I shall do more harm than good, but I must somehow learn the facts of his journey abroad. The time has come, I fear. I must open that parcel and know what is written. Oh, Jonathan, you will, I know, forgive me if I do wrong, but this is for your own sake, dear. Later. A sad homecoming in every way. The house empty of the dear soul who was so good to us. Jonathan still pale and dizzy, under a slight relapse of his malady, and now a telegram from Van Helsing, whoever he may be. "You will be grieved to hear that Mrs. Westenra died 5 days ago, and that Lucy died the day before yesterday. They were both buried today. Oh, what wealth of sorrow in few words! Poor Miss Westenra, poor Lucy, gone, never to return to us, and poor Arthur, to have lost such sweetness out of his life. God help us to bear our troubles." Dr. Seward's Diary, 22nd of September. It is all over. Arthur has gone back to Ring, and has taken Quincy Morris with him. What a fine fellow is Quincy! I believe in my heart of hearts that he suffered as much about Lucy's death as any of us, but he bore himself through it like a moral Viking. If America can go on breeding men like that, she will be a power in the world indeed. Van Helsing is lying down, having a rest preparatory to his journey. He goes over to Amsterdam tonight, but says he returns tomorrow night, that he only wants to make some arrangements, which can only be made personally. He is to stop with me then, if he can. He says he has work to do in London, which may take him some time, poor old fellow. I fear that the strain of the past week has broken down even his iron strength. All the time of the burial he was, I could see, putting some terrible restraint on himself. When it was all over, we were standing beside Arthur, who, poor fellow, was speaking of his part in the operation, where his blood had been transfused to Lucy's veins. I could see Van Helsing's face grow white and purple by turns. Arthur was saying that he felt since then as if the two had been really married, and that she was his wife in the sight of God. None of us said a word to the other operations, and none of us ever shall. Arthur and Quincy went away together to the station, and Van Helsing and I came on here. The moment we were alone in the carriage, he gave way to a regular fit of hysterics. He has denied to me since that it was hysterics, and insisted that it was only his sense of humour asserting itself under very terrible conditions. He laughed till he cried, and I had to draw down the blinds lest anyone should see us and misjudge. And then he cried till he laughed again, and laughed and cried together, just as a woman does. I tried to be stern with him, as one is to a woman under the circumstances, but it had no effect. Men and women are so different in manifestations of nervous strength or weakness. Then, when his face grew grave and stern again, I asked him why his mirth, and why at such a time. His reply was in a way very characteristic of him, for it was logical and forceful and mysterious. He said, "Ah, you don't comprehend, friend John. Do you not think that I am not sad, though I laugh? See, I have cried even when the laugh did choke me. But no more think that I am all sorry when I cry. For the laugh he come just the same. Keep always with you that laughter who knock at your door and say, 'May I come in?' Is it not true, laughter? No, he is king, and he come when and how he like. He ask no person, he choose no time of suitability. He say, 'I am here. Behold an example, I grieve my heart out for that so sweet young girl. I give my blood for her, though I am old and worn. I give my time, my skill, my sleep. I let my other sufferers want, that she may have all. And yet I can laugh at her very grave, laugh when the clay from the spade of the sexton drop upon her coffin, and say, thud, thud, to my heart, till it send back the blood from my cheek. My heart bleed for that poor boy, that dear boy, so of the age of mine own body, had I been so blessed that he live, and with his hair and eyes the same. There, you know now why I love him so, and yet when he say things that touch my husband heart to the quick, and make my father heart yearn to him as no other man. Not even to you, friend John, for we are more level in experiences than father and son, yet even at such a moment King laugh ye come to me, and shout and bellow in my ear, here I am, till the blood come dance back and bring some of the sunshine that he carry with him to my cheek. Oh, friend John, 'tis a strange world, a sad world. A world full of miseries and woes and troubles, and yet when King Laugh come, he make them all dance to the tune he play. Bleeding hearts and dry bones of the churchyard, and tears that burn as they fall, all dance together to the music that he make with the smileless mouth of him. And believe me, friend John, that he good to come, and kind. Ah, we men and women are like ropes drawn tight with strain that pull us different ways. Then tears come, and, like the rain on the ropes, they branch us up, until perhaps the strain become too great, and we break. But King Laugh he come like the sunshine, and he ease off the strain again, and we bear to go on with our labour, what it may be. I did not like to wound him by pretending not to see his idea, but, as I did not yet understand the cause of his laughter, I asked him, and he answered me. His face grew stern, and he said in quite a different tone, oh, it was the grim irony of it all. So this lovely lady, garlanded with flowers, that looked so fair as life, till one by one we wondered if she were truly dead, and she in that laid so fine marble house in this lonely churchyard, where rest so many of her kin, laid there with the mother who loved her, and whom she loved, and that sacred bell going toll, 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 so sad and slow, and those holy men, with white garments of the angel, pretending to read books, and yet all the time their eyes never on the page. And all us with our bowed head. And all for what? She is dead. So, is it not? Well, for the life of me, Professor, I said, I can't see anything to laugh at all in that. Why, your explanation makes it a harder puzzle than before. But even if the burial service was comic, what about poor Art and his trouble? Why, his heart was simply breaking. Just so, he said. Not that the transfusion of his blood to her veins had made her truly his bride. Yes, and it was sweet, and a comforting idea for him. Quite so, but there was a difficulty, friend John. If so that, then what about the others? Ho ho, then this so sweet maid is a polyandrist, and me, with my poor wife dead to me, but alive by church's law. Though no wits all gone, even I, who am faithful husband to this now no wife, am bigamist.